You're listening to Behind the Deal, a Central Commercial Group podcast, helping California businesses through the whole process of commercial real estate.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Behind the Deal. I'm your host, Ethan Bronson, and this is episode 3. Today's going to be a little bit different. There's no guests, no back and forth, just me sharing a bit of the story of Behind the Deal. I wanted to take some time to talk about why we even started this podcast at CCG, what the vision is, where I hope it goes, and how it fits into the bigger picture of what we're building. Also get into some of the future ideas I've got floating around, both for the show and for the company as a whole. And then I want to rewind the tape a bit, talk about how I got into commercial real estate in the first place, the things that drew me in, and what excites me for the future. I'll also be talking about what inspires me in the digital world. So if you're down for a bit of personal episode, stick around. Let's get into it. So one of the first things I want to address is this being a solo show, a little bit counterintuitive to what I promised in the first episode, saying that I was going to bring in specialists, experts, and even other commercial real estate brokers, which is still all planned. We just had an episode with John Wilson of Green Gate Ranch down in the Edna Valley. He's got a beautiful venue there with vineyard, private event space. And we've got many more guests planned, and I'll kind of talk about one of the journeys I'll be taking you on as I interview other industry experts all throughout California. Since I'm doing this episode, I need to explain why I'm doing it on this platform, and what the future is for this platform that I'm using. So I'm heading down to Southern California to meet with Steve, one of the associate brokers, in a couple of days to shoot some content for a property. I can't really get into the weeds too much about what the property is, but you'll see a lot about it in the future as we are able to release some of that content, who it is, why we're doing it, all that kind of stuff. So this is going to be completely unscripted, and I'll explain why it's going to be unscripted. So as I've been, conducting these interviews, I've realized, a lot of it is super scripted. And I think, having a scripted interview, I personally enjoy podcasts and interviews that are unscripted. But since we are dealing with businesses and I've asked them to come on the show, I feel like I need to respect their confidentiality. There's certain stuff that they can't share, and I have to respect that. So I'm very grateful for the people that have already been on the show that I've recorded that you'll see in the next couple of weeks. And I want to respect business owners in the future, because certain people that we have on, we're going to have on for other shows to talk about business even more. But yeah, that's really why I'm doing an unscripted episode today. With the plan of unscripted episodes in the future, we have a new segment that we're going to be testing out. We'll see if it works. We're going to be meeting with the two brokers of the company, our principal broker and the boss, Hank. He's going to be on the show, as well as Steve. It's going to be called The Broker Bros. We're going to be doing a completely unscripted episode. I don't know how long it will be, but we're going to go through different articles that affect commercial real estate and just business as a whole. May even learn a little bit something about their lives as well. We'll be testing that here in the next couple days, see if the pilot works well. And if so, then we're going to keep it going. We'll see if it's going to be a weekly release or just a monthly release. So I want to take you back to why we started Behind the Deal in the first place. So when I met Hank a couple months ago, we talked about that there was going to be some time period that I wasn't going to have my license, but I still wanted to help the company and figure out how to make myself useful. When we were talking at coffee, we talked about, different ideas I had, even though I don't have much experience at all in real estate. I suggested that maybe we should do some social media because Hank has been doing commercial real estate in San Luis Obispo and the Central Coast for about 20 years now, but there really wasn't any social media presence. The reason I brought up social media was because I started a travel agency that kind of heavily relied on my social media use. So even though I wasn't a marketing major out of college, I still had a lot of firsthand experience on, how important it is to get your brand out there, talk to different people about their testimonials of people that, really liked the business that you had operating. So that was a big part of why I wanted to start the social media aspect. The podcast came from an idea of Phil's to do a webinar. And I think webinars are great. And I'm sure we're going to have several in the future, especially talking more about opportunity zones as you saw last week. And I want to apologize for last week's audio quality of the episode. I'll be transparent. I'm still, trying to learn a lot of things about podcasting, and I have a lot of video and audio recording experience, but with that many channels by myself, it's kind of hard to get it all figured out in the first couple episodes. So just wanted to be transparent, but it was Phil's idea to do the webinar. I had been listening to podcasts for about a little over 11, 12 years now. And I really liked podcasts that tell stories. I really like listening to people more specifically, listening to hosts that brought on people that would tell their story. And for some reason, I always found that super interesting. I know nowadays, starting a podcast seems a little mainstream, maybe a little cheesy just because everybody's doing podcasts these days. But starting this podcast was important and special to me just because it has been my life for so long, even before it got super popular. So I'm trying to bring some of the old school podcast format out there. Not really trying to do it for clicks. For whoever wants to listen to this, I think there's a special story to be told here at Central Commercial Group. And when I was formatting questions to interview people, I think it's important that you know where I'm coming from as a host. Because as we interview people, I don't want to be talking while I'm interviewing somebody else. They have a story to be told, and I don't want to interfere with that. But I just want to give a little background of why, I write the questions that I do, because, I need to respect their business, but I also want to hear their story, because everybody's got a very unique way of how they got to the point that they are being super successful businessmen and women. So that's a little bit about that. As I mentioned, we got some super exciting stuff coming up. In a few months, I'm going to be really working on getting up and down throughout California to interview people related to commercial real estate, agriculture, and all types of business. So what does that mean? I'm originally from Lodi, California, and it's a big, big agricultural community, more specifically in wine grapes. So I'm going to be interviewing a lot of friends from down there that, are older than me, that I've learned from their experience. I'll be talking with them, even some of my family members that are in the wine grape business. So I'll be recording that all in 1 week. I may even give you a little bit of content of what that week looks like for me, since I will be recording about 5 or 6 episodes in about 5 days. So it'll be a very unique experience for myself and for the viewer as we release some of those episodes. Why did I get into commercial real estate? So as I told you guys in episode 1, I graduated at Cal Poly with a agricultural business degree. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do when I graduated. As the years went on in college, and I kind of started to get towards the end of my college career, because I wasn't able to spend a ton of time doing internships or working jobs, because I did play college football at Cal Poly, which was a great experience. I learned a lot about myself, especially dealing with multiple injuries. More specifically, suffered 3 ACL tears in my football career. So I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I started to get really interested in real estate. I really liked the idea that, more specifically, residential real estate agents and brokers were putting out there, because I always thought that their content that they were putting out there was super unique, and they really were always pushing the boundaries with what they put out there. As I started to watch residential real estate develop even more, it really didn't seem like it was exactly what I wanted. And then I discovered commercial real estate, which I didn't really realize was its own, separate entity majority of the times. Then I looked into it even more, and that there was, agricultural real estate, which I found super fascinating, especially growing up in an agricultural family. So when I kind of decided that commercial real estate was what I wanted to do, I started looking up how I was going to get a job. A lot of people, they did summers and summers of internships, and it just felt like I was going to be kind of left behind because I hadn't had any of that experience. Luckily, I met Hank through a friend of pickleball. I'm not a big pickleball fan myself. I haven't played all that much, but I had a friend that met Hank through pickleball, and he was nice enough to give him my contact info because he knew I was interested in commercial real estate. But I didn't tell my friend that I was really interested in finding a job. I really just wanted to talk to somebody about the industry. Hank was gracious enough to meet with me and talk about what commercial real estate really was. I was very transparent with him, saying that I wanted to learn more about it. Really, what is the difference between commercial and residential? Why would somebody want to get into commercial? Wanted to learn about the timelines of what commercial real estate entails. So I learned about all the basics that, commercial real estate does take a lot longer than residential real estate. So somebody that, needs to sell 4 to 10 houses a month, you may only need to do one property for the whole year to, make a living in commercial real estate. And obviously, being an athlete, I really do appreciate when stuff takes time, but it does pay off eventually. I also think it's super interesting that residential real estate is all about, telling stories of the house. If there's famous people that have lived in the house, or if there was, a certain family dynamic that had been through that house or historical event. But that wasn't really the same for commercial real estate. So I started to dig more and more into that. And it seemed like commercial real estate really wasn't doing that as much. I didn't really see that there was any type of storytelling mechanism for commercial as there was at residential. So this kind of builds to, where we are now, all these ideas that I have trying to tell stories of business owners, because, some businesses have been around for, decades or even a century, but you never really hear about, how the business has developed, or, the stories of people that have gotten there to that point. So that's a big reason of why I started the podcast. This kind of all accumulates into the main idea that I'm currently working on right now, of a new segment called Mustang Made. Being a Cal Poly alum like myself, as I was asking people to be on the show for future episodes, started to realize how many people that I've met throughout the Central Coast and California as a whole, even going up to Lodi or down in Southern California, I started to realize how many people were Cal Poly grads that had made super successful business careers for themselves, and seemed to be, genuinely happy with where they are in life. So we started this new segment called Mustang Made, where we're going to be interviewing all types of Cal Poly alum, whether it's careers directly correlated with real estate or indirectly. We'll dig deep into, how their careers are dealing with commercial real estate. Many have had residential real estate investment passed to them, but we'll be digging all into that. The first one will be John Wilson that I talked about earlier. So I'm super excited for that episode to come out. We've got a ton of other guests in the future planned for Mustang Made, and we're really trying to up our presence in the Cal Poly business world. We'll be meeting with the Cal Poly Real Estate Club to talk to some of the younger generation. Kind of ironic that I'm saying that because I literally just graduated college in December. But we'll be talking with them and even getting ideas from them about how we can, further push the envelope of commercial real estate content, how we can, get close to the presence that residential has out there. And yeah, I'm always learning, always trying to figure out what we can bring to the table here at Central Commercial Group, how we can bring content that, entertains you, the viewer, or the listener. But that will be it for this week's episode. Thanks for listening in. If this was something that you enjoyed, me coming on here to talk a little bit more unscripted, please let me know. And have a great week, everybody.
This concludes the episode of Behind the Deal. Be sure to give a review and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and TikTok. Until next time, have a great week, everyone.